The doctor's in the house. Yeah, a little Saturday action. Beautiful day in the tri-state. If you're cruising around, just keep those windows down and the radio up. Lots of good stuff coming up for you today, and lots of great information. If you didn't witness that drubbing last night, don't worry about it. We'll give you some facts and figures and give you some opinion as well. Coming up about 106, Mo Egger joins me. Then Ken Brew takes you this afternoon at 3:05. He'll give you his insight, always powerful, and he'll let you commiserate. I think we're already looking at draft pick. I pulled it out today. Say, who do we got? What good prospects we got coming up next spring? About 2:05, we're going to talk about the Iowa straw poll, and I want to get your reaction at that time to, I'll call it a debate. Really wasn't that much of a debate. It was more of a, hey, look at me, and I'm not sure I want any of them to be president. I'm not sure I can back any of them, but I'll get your opinion on about 2:05. Did you see Greg Hartman slamming the city of Cincinnati? Well, the idea for the levy for the Cincinnati Public Schools. County Commissioner Hartman, not real happy with the levy, and I can't blame him. The more I think about it, the more I am right. What new ideas have any of these school districts come up with that warrants a levy? It's the same old, same old. What new ideas? Are you just going to continue on the same path? What new ideas do you have? Technology abounds. We have jumped light years, technologically speaking, in the last 10, 15 years. And the only new ideas with technology alone is, hey, let's buy them kids a bunch of computers, let them take them home and smash them up and have no responsibility if they're broken. That's pretty much it. That's all I get. Oh, wait a minute. Back up. Also, we do have some internet access in schools, which every couple of months or so, just about every school has some incident where somebody's doing something they shouldn't on the computer, whether it's a kid or a teacher or somebody else. That's pretty much it. But with all of that technology and all of these educated people that want to educate our kids, what new ideas are you bringing to the table that says we can do a better job educating kids and we can save money doing it? Where are those new ideas? None. The only thing I hear is, we need more money. Levy. Who wants to levy? That's all I hear, levy. What new ideas? What are you doing? Rich Hoffman joins me now from No Lakota Levy. How are you, sir?
Fantastic. You know, the world must be coming to an end if it's this beautiful and you have to be on the radio on a Saturday to emit some sort of sense.
I know, and I was bitching about it yesterday. The boss, I'm like, what are you talking about? And then I talked to the guy who is in Iraq and Afghanistan, and I was like, well, all right, I guess I can suck it up for a couple hours. No, I actually volunteered. They're a little shorthanded, so I said, yeah, I'll help out and come on in for a bit. Rich, what new ideas do you hear? I mean, is it not the same old, same old? The unions complain, maybe rightfully so, maybe not, that they're getting hosed. They need more money. Stop screwing the teachers. It's all the administration. The administration says we need more money or we can't do it. The citizens are saying, hey, I'm tired of the taxes. Meanwhile, the quality of education in general in America is slipping competitive-wise. Right. And we have no new ideas.
No. What we heard, we had some people speak at the Lakota meeting on Monday, spoke against it, some spoke for it. It's the usual diatribe, the political kind of thing. And at the end of it, the new superintendent who came from Pickerington, we were able to meet her, and she pretty much said, well, it looks like we can see what Lakota thinks of itself. Sort of like a parent would say to a child, that's in a squabble.
Wait, hang on a second. What did she mean? And what was that in reference to?
Well, the implication I took from it was, if Lakota values itself, if it values its education, if it values its excellence, then we'll pass the levy.
I see. It's the once again the condescending. Well, I can see.
Manipulative.
Rich Hoffman, I could see what you think of our school system and our kids. They're not worth it, and blah blah. Oh, give me a break.
Right. And you since you opened this up this way, you've been in the radio for a million years, and you do business, and I've been in countless meetings where you've had to sit down, look at spreadsheets, do full brainstorm where everybody contributes something around the table, and then you get to the right idea. You kind of figure out what's going on, and then you go with that strategy and you implement it. And I've done that I know lots of people have done that. The schools don't do that. They just the Cincinnati public schools situation. All they know to do is ask for money. And that's a crazy, crazy insane. I know we talk about it a lot, and we've spoke about it a lot, but you have to, because if you don't, nobody's getting it.
Well,
nobody's
Richard,
in the paper.
Well, and that's the reason I keep talking about the ideas, because, listen, yeah, I have problems with the spending, and that's the reason SB 5 is an issue and the whole thing. Yeah, but where are the new ideas then? Tell you what, we get rid of SB 5, all you teachers get a raise, whatever. Is the quality of education going to go up? No, because it hasn't in the past. How about we double your salaries? Is quality of education going to go up? No. If it's really about the children, as I'm led to believe by so many, then wouldn't you want their quality of education to go up? It's been proven. We've thrown gobs of money at it. It is flatlined at best, as you said. So that's not the answer. Where's the new ideas?
Well, the new ideas are in these guys that run for school board. And Lakota's going to have a couple people running for the seat. I had a guy approach me Monday night. He wants no Lakota to get behind him. He says, I have all these great ideas. And I don't want to mention his name yet, because I'm going to sit down with him this coming Wednesday, and we're going to have a serious discussion and then decide whether or not, he's a possible solution for the future. But you have to get good school board members on the board. What I think happens is, they're all good. They all have these great ideas. But what happens is when they get on the board, and I've known this process because I've met quite a few school board members at this point, they all have these great intentions going into it. But what happens is they have this OSBA conference up in Columbus every November, right after the elections. And, it's a thing where you get together. It's like a Boy Scout club, where everybody gets together, they have dinner, and you form bonds and relationships. And what it is, it's a way of achieving consensus. And after this period of time, after a couple of years of this, you find that these board members kind of flow the same way. And their big ideas go away because what they find is it's all an uphill battle, and they just start voting the easy way. Just like politics, like everything in politics. And nothing ever gets done. Nothing ever gets challenged.
Well, we need some leadership at the state level to say, okay, if we really wait, hang on a second. What is our motivation? What do we want as citizens of Ohio, or even Indiana, Kentucky, anywhere? What is our motivation? I would think that we want our children to be competitive. No, you know what? We want our children to be the best, the smartest, the brightest, without question, by leaps and bounds, a huge margin between them and the second best around the world. That's number one.
Right.
We also want to get the biggest value for that as we invest in it, right?
Well, precisely.
All right. Well, then somebody at the state level needs to look at it and say, we are not getting either one of those. So let's start with little assumptions. Let's sit down. Rich, if you and I were going to start building a car today and we were going to design a brand new one, and we said, listen, we want to build something completely different, you can't say, well, let's start with 4 wheels, because maybe it doesn't. Maybe it has 3, maybe it has 7. You can't assume that. You know what I mean? We need people to start arguing that and saying, let's not assume anything. As stupid as I am, have come up with a couple of ideas that I know have merit, and that is shrinking this physical size of schools and offer, some sort of, whatever that means, open campus where kids can take, one class. Some they could test out on the same class that week. They could take 2 or 3 times if it's open, and put stuff online. That's a new idea. That's something that we could consider.
Yep, they can't do it. Can't do it because the unions won't allow you. The same thing that the post office is going through right now. The unions won't allow any sort of business adjustment to new technology, and they're stuck in this old archaic system, and they resist every form of change.
So what we're doing is we're propping up bad ideas, bad models, bad systems, and bad people for the sake of those jobs, because we don't want to allegedly lose jobs. That's what they say.
When she told me that, the superintendent, man, she might be a decent person. She might turn out to be good. She talked a good game. She said some good things. But when I listened to her speak, I couldn't help it. And this was before the Bengal game last night. I couldn't help but think of Mike Brown. She said almost the same things that he said in that press conference that he gave a couple of weeks ago. I mean, where the belief is we're supposed to just believe that money spent equals value. So if you spend $100,000, you get $100,000 of value. Spend $105,000, you get that. That's the belief we're supposed to buy into, and you can see what the Bengals have done. The Bengals, I've rooted for the Bengals they're our home team, so you can't help but vote for like them. But did you see the debacle last night?
I know.
They had so many chances.
The worst preseason loss in team history.
And they look so bad. I mean, they looked horrible. But they went out and they spent money. They bought free agents. They've done like everybody else. I mean, granted, they've been a little under the cap. But there's other teams that have functioned that way and been profitable and maintained under the cap. But they've spent the money on players over the years. Over 20 years they've done this.
But you know what? But Rich, that's like you saying, you know what? We're going to go out and get the best player out there, and we have $20 million a year to get it, and you give it to me to play.
Right.
Just because you're paying me $20 million doesn't mean I'm going to be successful. I have no skill.
Right. But that's what we're supposed to believe, that if you spend the money, that you'll just get it. And the thing is, where we're at now, people don't have the money to give, even though they might be tempted to do it otherwise.
Well, right, and that's the reason this issue is so important right now. But even if it had been 5 years ago or 10 years ago, we still were not getting that level of education for, the bang for our buck. We're not getting that value out of it. And I say now it's time for some leadership to say, we are going to not assume anything. Let's craft a new public school model in the state of Ohio. Hey, Indiana, hop on board. Kentucky, you as well.
Right.
Let's craft a brand new model and put it into play. And I'm sorry, whose toes get stepped on. I don't care if they're politicians, individuals, unions, organizations, certain professions. If your goal is truly to provide a great education, the best out there at the best price, then you know what? I'm not worried about it. I don't care if you step on my toes at the big one. I don't care if you step on anybody else's toes, the governor, a president, people that I personally like, friends, family members. If your goal is to accomplish those things, to create a great school system, to a great plan for the best education at the best price, then you cannot worry about those. And when those people object simply because it is going to affect them personally, then you tell them, I'm sorry, this is the right way to go. We didn't build America. We didn't get to be where we are. Great inventions, great leaders did not worry about those things. They did the right thing.
That's right. Guys like you and me, and there's lots of other folks out there in the silent majority. We were scratching our heads 5 or 6 years ago saying this isn't right, but these things went on anyway, and they got voted in. And now we have a track record. We have a history throughout these last 2 decades of this behavior and how it doesn't work. And now I know I'm right. I think you think you're right. I think there's a lot of folks out there that are starting to say, this is screwed up. It's not working. You're not going to fix this omelet. You're not going to make an omelet without breaking some eggs here. And the eggs don't need to be the people who pay the money. The eggs need to be the people who are in the way of the adjustments.
You know what's so sad, though, Rich, as I talk about this, and I know right now there's people listening that are bristling, you're just attacking this. You're attacking that person, that profession, that. No, I'm not. I'm not holding anything sacred. I'm not holding my profession or what I do or things I care about. I'm talking about doing the right things to get the biggest bang for our buck. We've got a lot of issues on the ballot. As I look county by county, a lot of levies and different issues. I'm trying to see here. You got Lakota and Fairfield and Butler County have already said they have this school levies.
Yeah, Lebanon too.
Yeah, Lebanon as well. Claremont, so far West Claremont is one of the few that's going to have a levy. Warren.
Little Miami again.
Oh, yeah, Little Miami. That's right, yeah. I forgot. Yeah, 9th time in a row for Little Miami. I'll tell you what, folks. Even if you say, Doc, everything you've said is completely BS, I don't agree with one thing, fine. But you have to admit, Little Miami, they need something else. I mean, 9 times in a row, they need a new idea, even if the new idea is to lie better to the people. I'm serious, something to get it done, Rich. You're not getting it done.
Well, you have an administration. I mean, really, seriously. I mean, all jokes. Well, no jokes. Let's have a joke here. I'm looking at my dog. My dog could wag its tail and say, vote for another levy. What good is a management system in place, or a school board, or a superintendent, if the only option is to ask for money?
I just wonder, wait a minute. Here's what I imagine happens in the meetings. They have the meetings, and they tell you everything that's going wrong. We got this problem. Here's what's going on. We got to fix that. All right, how are we going to fix this? Levy? I second. Levy done. That's probably all that happens. There's no other thrown out there. I mean, in fact, you know what? I'll save you the time, people. Don't even have meetings. Just go right to the levy. Sit down and go, who's in favor of a levy? Aye, done. Put it on the ballot. Let's go.
That's what Mount Healthy did. They failed it Tuesday night and Monday morning. It was voted back in.
Come on, guys. Seriously? Wow.
I've been paying attention to Pickerington, and because that's where the new superintendent came from. They just passed theirs.
Columbus area has several of them. Pickerington, Village of Valley View, Hilliard up there. Dayton area has a whole bunch. It's all over. And it'll be statewide like that. All right, Rich, I appreciate your insight, sir, and I'm going to put a link on my blog to your stuff so people can keep up to date on what's going on there.
All right. Have a great day.
Thanks, buddy. Rich Hoffman from No Lakota Levy. Your call's coming up, 513-749-7800, the big one, or pound 700 on AT&T. Really, can we go ahead for a moment and just break down all of your preconceived notions, all of your bristling because this affects you personally because you are whatever occupation or live whatever, and say, if our goal is to give kids the best education on the planet, bar none, and we need to do that, want to do that as efficiently as we can, isn't it time we start tearing down all of those things, get rid of all the sacred cows, and come up with new ideas? Your thoughts next on the big one, 700 WLW. Doc Thompson at 700 WLW on a beautiful day in the tri-state talking about school levies. School levies. Serious. If you're Little Miami, 9 times in a row, come up with better marketing, something. Give people donuts if they vote. I don't know, something. A better marketing campaign. Show sadder children. Anything. A new idea. Mount Healthy. So we want a levy. Officially, voters say no. Next day. We're going to ask for another levy. Come on. At least come up with a better idea for your marketing to get the levy. But I say the real answer is a new idea in general. Not just the tri-state, all over the country. It is no secret that the rest of the world has caught up with what gaps we have had or increased or made the advantage we've had for decades in America when it comes to public education. They're catching up in some places, in some ways, surpassing us. So what are we going to do? We want the best and brightest. I think most of us would agree with that. You could probably get almost a consensus. And we want the biggest bang for our buck. You could probably get a consensus for that. Have we been getting that? Doesn't matter your background, the political party you support. We have not. So we need something new. And we are now at a place in American history and world history where we have technology. We have the ability to connect people in an instant with people around the globe, thoughts and ideas, that you can sit just about anywhere and take out a gadget from your pocket and pull up reference material about anything. Think about when you were in school. Oh, it's Sunday afternoon and you forgot to do that report. Did you have encyclopedias at the house? No. Mom, I got to go to the library. And your library had limited resources, right? Now you can email the author of a book and ask for a statement about it, more information. We are at that moment. Our education should be just incredible. Kids should be just learning at unprecedented rates and gathering information and concepts. But they're not. They're actually falling behind. It's not for lack of money. We throw money at them. So Greg Hartman, who was pretty upset about Cincinnati Public Schools wanting another levy, is going to suggest an Ohio law that required that all school levies be vetted by an outside group before the school board is allowed to forward the levy request to the voters. Is that a good idea? It sounds like it. If you're frustrated by levies, boy, that sounds like a good idea. I'm not so sure. I don't think it is a good idea. I fully support his frustration, and he's absolutely right to be frustrated. That's probably not the way to do it. I'll give you the details on that. And also, I have a whole lot of people, Sharon and Lester, all kinds of people want to chime in. We'll get to them next. Your call's on the way, 700 WLW. Doc Thompson on the big one, 700 WLW. No, you're not mistaken. It is not a weekday. I got the call today. The manager pointed to the bullpen and said, "Give me Thompson." And here I am, talking a little about levies. I'm going to get to a bunch of calls. I understand the frustration of teachers and administrators and the people the people who pay the taxes. I understand the frustration of all of those. We all have frustrations. But in general, if we all look across the board and say, what are our goals with public education? We're not reaching our goals. We have fallen short of them. Sadly, we have fallen short of them. Greg Hartman, the Hamilton County Commissioner, slammed the Cincinnati Public Schools for their proposed $7.95 mil levy that will be coming up this November. So if you own a $100,000 home in the city, it would be about $243 additional property taxes a year. Imagine just having $243 less for every $100,000. A lot of people have $150,000, $200,000 home. On top of everything else, you're going to lose a few more $100. I understand why he's frustrated by that. His idea, though, for an outside commission to vet any proposals, a little bit off. I'll give you the details on that and tell you why in a minute. But first, we go down the phone lines here. Let's go to Mason right off. And Sharon, you're on the big one. How are you?
Hey, Doc, I can't get anything done today because you're on the air.
You see how that is? I'm very compelling, Sharon. Very compelling.
Hey, Doc, what I wanted to comment on is, I am close to a school board member, and I was talking to her, and she said that in this particular district, they were able to readjust some things and came up with they were going to be in the black for, on their 5-year forecast. So they were able, and then I guess the unions and the teachers made their concessions.
Sharon, real quick, and I'm sorry to interrupt. When you say in the black, I would prefer you say they will not be losing money, that they will balance their budget. In today's very sensitive PC world, I want to make sure we get that straight.
Yeah, exactly. Sorry about that. Don't want to confuse anybody.
So they're going to be fine. They want to balance.
So they felt like they wanted to bring some things back for the students. They're bringing back. They cut the student fees by like 25%. They're bringing back high school busing. They've made class sizes smaller, and they're able to bring some textbooks back into the classrooms. And the head of the union leader sent an email blasting these board members. How dare them? They made a concessions, and now they're giving all this back to the kids. So that right there proves that it's not about the children.
Well, no.
They said they're in the black, so you should give that back to us, not to the children.
Well, the famous former president of the NEA who said and then you could find this online, who said when kids start paying dues, then we'll be in it for the kids or whatever it is. And Sharon, here's the thing. I recognize, like I said, I understand the frustration at all levels. Even if you're a teacher and you're a union member, I get it. In fact, Sharon, I even get the people who run the unions. I get their motivation. I mean, that is their job. It's not for the kids. It is to protect the union members and their right to do that if that's their job. It's kind of like, do you ever hear the thing, and I don't want to screw it up, I think it's the turtle who is trying to cross a river. Is it a turtle? I think it's a turtle. Anyway, he's trying to cross the river, and Scorpion asks for his help. He's like, can I float on you across the river? And he said, yeah, but, don't sting me. He said, you sting me, we're both going to die. And the Scorpion's like, hey, no problem, man. And he gets on his back, and they get halfway across the river, and he stings him. And as they're sinking, he goes, what did you do? We're both going to die. He goes, because that's what I do. That's who I am. And that's how I look at it. All of these places, you as a taxpayer, that's who you are. You got to get the biggest bang for your buck and the best, education for your kids. Teachers, you want to make a good living. I get that. People who run the unions, yes. You've got to protect those union members. That's your job. That's who you are. That's what you do. But don't market to us. Don't lie. Don't spin that it's something that it's not, because you're really not helping the situation. You're gumming up the works here. And we need to get beyond that. I'm not even chastising you for it. And recognize when we try to talk about ideas and we blast the levies in that, I'm not going after you personally. We're all in this together. You may not know this. If you are one of these groups that are getting blasted, like teachers or a union member or whatever, and you get beat up, it's not that we don't think you do a good job. There's plenty of you that do a wonderful job. And I've said before, I would not have to deal with the parents that come in that think their kid is special and get in your face about every little thing you do. You're on the front lines. I get that, and there's plenty of you that do a great job. But we're all in this. We all are going through the tightening our belt, and things are not good right now. Let's go back to the phones. Price Hill, Ray, what's going on? What's on your mind?
Hey, these property taxes, it sounds real simple, like $242 on $100,000. I got a 4-family, and right now the property taxes alone are more than what one apartment brings in out of the 4.
Just the taxes? Just the property taxes?
Just the property taxes. So if I lose if I lose 2 apartments, I'm already down. I'm already under. I mean, there's no way. There's just so much money coming out. And of that, I was just going to look it up on Dusty Roads, the percentage that's already going to CPS is really high. I think it's like 65-70%.
Do you like the idea that Greg Hartman lives in the city, so he's, pretty frustrated as well by this, but his idea, to give it to you in a nutshell, is to have an Ohio law that would require school levies get vetted by some sort of outside independent group. That's before a school board could put it forward, and ask the voters to pass a levy before they put it on the ballot. Do you like that concept?
I like sort of that concept, but I'd like better is that anybody that doesn't actually have to pay the property tax bill is not allowed to vote for them.
I can understand that as well.
You cannot bury these rent. Everybody says, well, it's buried in the rent. Well, yeah, it is, but you can't just keep doing it. I mean, eventually you're losing people because they can't afford to stay there.
That's a great point because they could live in the town next door if it's on. I mean, especially if you're on, near a boundary where they can just move, a mile down the road and the rent is going to be, significantly less because they don't have the same taxes.
It's a burden on me to be able to get good tenants if I got to keep jacking the rent just to break even, and especially when I got tenants that don't even have kids in the schools.
Yeah, and of course they're like, the ones that do though, and they rent, they're like, sure, better schools, give them more money. I'm not paying for it, right?
There's one other thing that would be even better still, and I don't know if SB 5 was done properly because I do see some problems with it, but the one thing that a woman called in who said that she was on a small school board somewhere, and she'd only been on it once, and she said it was absolutely amazing because the NEA brought in their negotiator, and she said they knew every bit of our books, and they just said, this is our cut. If you don't give it to us, we're going to go to binding arbitration, and we're going to get it anyway.
Well, at least you're up front with it.
Yeah, in deference to Cincinnati Public Schools, that is probably what's happened to them, why they approved those budgets, because there's no choice.
You know what, Ray? At least we would know going in. We wouldn't have the marketing that it's about the children. It would just be the scorpion saying, hey, that's who I am. That's what I do.
Well,
that's what I am.
There's
Thanks,
got to
man.
be something done.
I appreciate the calls. I don't like the idea of Greg Hartman's plan primarily because it takes the power from the local people there. You should be able to put it on in your local area. The real way that you stop this from happening is to take control of your school board. Now, that's not happening out there, and the people that get there end up, as I said, bowing down to every special interest group, whether it's a union or this group or that group, instead of saying, this is right and this is what we're going to do. The real way is not another law. The real way is you to say, school board, no. We are demanding new ideas and a new way forward. We're going to stop building cathedrals for kids to go to school in. In fact, we're going to make them smaller and more simple and put classes online and let you test out of some of them online. Then we don't have to pay for those things. Busing's less of an issue, less money, and a better education. More of your calls next on the big one, 700W. Join Lance at the Harrison Meyer store. He'll be there until 2 o'clock this afternoon. He's getting ready for the Skyline Crosstown Shootout and the best high school football there is. You can show your team spirit wearing a Meyer team gear. And Lance is going to set somebody up with a $50 Meyer gift card to get you started. He will be there until 2 o'clock this afternoon at the Harrison Meyer. It's Lance McAllister at 700 WLW. All right, back to the phone lines we go. Bob in Batavia, how are you?
Hey, Doc, it's good to hear you today.
Thank you, sir. It's good to be heard.
I'm living in Batavia, and if you go to communitypress.com, they have a nuts and bolts West Claremont levy that they're going to do this November, okay? And one thing that really is really funny about this article is that the fact is they can't keep up with their budget because of all the salary increases. It's unbelievable. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
It says here that that we cannot keep the same budget because of the increases in salaries each year. And if that's what SB 5 is about, it's like, well, nobody else is getting raises. Now you want me to pay more property tax so you people can get more raises when nobody's getting raises to begin with? Around, you know what I'm saying?
No, absolutely, Bob. And I tell you, I'm a resident of Claremont County. I bought my house, and when I looked at the property, I was like, oh my God, what are you? You're killing me here. What is this? Staggering amounts of money. Bob, I feel your pain. And you're right. Unfortunately, if you say that about nobody else getting raises, it falls on deaf ears. I understand if you are in the public sector, if you are a firefighter, a cop, a teacher, whatever, and you've not gotten a raise in a while. In fact, when it came to Hamilton County, that was one of the things that when Greg Hartman came out and said, listen, this is a bad idea right now, and he blasted him. One of the board members at CPS, Elaine Cooper, is it Eileen Cooper? She said, it is Mr. Hartman who is out of touch with economic reality. She says CPS employees have had no increase in base salary in 3 years, have had increase in their health care contributions to 20%, more than county employees pay. In addition, some county employees have received 3% raise in the past year. Contrary to his assertion, our first response to our fiscal challenge was cut millions from our budget and reduce staff. Okay, I'm not even going to dispute it. Let's say you're absolutely right. So? No, I'm not being flippant about what you're going through. We're all in this together. Look around. As you go in, as somebody who supported what she just said, maybe you're an employee. As you go into your supermarket today, you drive over to Kenwood Mall or someplace, you do shopping, you get your car fixed, you get your hair cut, you listen to this radio station, wherever somebody is working today. Have they gotten raises? Just because you haven't doesn't matter. It matters to you, yes, and it would be great if you could. I understand maybe you've sacrificed, but we're all in this together, and none of us are cleaning up. It's not like, your neighbor's like, woohoo, I'm cutting hair for a living. I've gotten a 75% raise it's not happening. Sorry. So, it's going to continue to go up. SB 5, unfortunately, has been misspun. It will probably get struck down. It'll get overturned. And when that happens, you're not going to be in a better situation. This whole thing will continue to be a problem because we're still not addressing it. SB 5 was an attempt. More of your calls on the way next. 700 WL. The doctor's on the big one. 700 WLW. And Frank in Milford, you are as well.
Thanks for taking my call. Just the real meaning of money here in Milford, we spend about $9,800 per pupil. Our schools are rated excellent. Indian Hill, they spend about $12,000 per pupil, and they're rated excellent. Cincinnati Public Schools, the last time I checked, spent $15,000 per pupil, and they graduate about 20 to 30% of their students. Okay, now where does that money go? This was in the Inquirer. This was a few years ago, but there's actually more people that work for Cincinnati Public Schools that never see a student than there are teachers in the classroom. This is overhead. This needs to go. And, when they start being efficient with our money, we should give them more. And until then, right. Absolutely not. You say $250 for a $100,000 house. Mm-hmm. Well, most houses are $200. That's $500.
Right. In addition to not
per
just
house.
Right, and not just that's not just in addition to property taxes, but it's in addition to a bad economy with a lot of those people not getting raises and increased taxes other ways and inflation creeping up. I appreciate your call, Bob. You're absolutely right. It's the same a lot of other places. If you look at, it depends when they say per pupil, you can break that up a couple of different ways depending on what you throw in the mix. But your idea is right, that there are many places schools are rated excellent and they spend half of what other schools who graduate, like you say, 20%, 30%, whatever. Washington, D.C. schools, they spend, by some accounts, over $20,000 per student. It's one of the worst school systems in the country. So, yeah, money's not necessarily the answer. But this is the reason, as SB 5 becomes an issue this fall, that we've got to certainly still be concerned about the firefighters and cops and teachers. Because, listen, The teachers aren't getting that money if it's $20,000 per student. They're not getting rich. I understand what they go through. You certainly got to take care of them, but pay it based on merit. And you've got to remember the job they do. And here's another example. Out of Destin, Florida, a police officer spotted a man in a park. Now, despite the man having been told not to be there anymore due to previous violations, he was still there. And the deputy asked the man to turn around, to put his hands behind his back so he could take him in. The man refused, and when the deputy tried to grab his arm, the man pulled away. The deputy removed his taser, and he pointed at the man and ordered him to put his hands behind the back. The man said, "I cannot put my hands behind my back because I am making a bowel movement." The man was fully clothed at the time. He then turned around, placed both hands behind his back, inserted his left hand into his shorts, and removed it, showing the officer that which he had created. The officer reported that, yes, the man's hand was filled with fecal matter. Don't you think cops deserve a certain degree of hazard pay? Doc Thompson on the home of the Reds, 700 WL. Tom and Mason, how are you?
Hey, how are you, Doc?
Good. Thanks for holding, buddy.
Yeah. I just moved here from out of state a couple years ago.
Where'd you move from?
Colorado, northern Colorado.
Sorry?
Northern Colorado.
No, I heard you. I was saying sorry. Sorry that you had to live there for. I'm just giving you the business,
right.
Man.
Well, I had the shock of my life when I got here. I started looking at property. The property taxes are 200% higher here than they are in northern Colorado.
And it's sad because the property itself is pretty reasonable by comparison to some parts of the country.
Right. I didn't see a big difference in the price of housing. But, 200%, that's thousands of dollars.
Yep.
So I started doing some research, and turns out that Ohio is a very high-tax state, including property taxes and state taxes.
It has gotten a little bit better, but here's the thing. If you look across the board, Tom, and you say, some states get their taxes, the revenue to run their state primarily in one source. So you'll see some states will have a really high sales tax, but other taxes are relatively low. Some will have a higher property tax or higher income tax. And if you look, you'll say, okay, they're really high in one category, but really low in another. Ohio is one of those states that is high or not low anyways across the board. And do we have any other services that are that outstanding by comparison to other states? No. Look at our services. Yeah, we may do better in certain areas, but it's not like you look at Ohio, relatively high tax state, and go, wow, yeah, we pay a lot of taxes across the board, but dang, the roads are pristine. Yes, I understand we have a freeze-thaw cycle here like some states don't, but there are other states that do. The roads are a little bit better. It's not like we look at it and go, wow, our education system in the Buckeye State is wonderful by comparison, the best. It's not. We are not outstanding on all of those categories, so if we pay more taxes, we're just not getting the bang for our buck like other states do. Why? Simply because they put a tax in place and it just goes up. That's it. They start out with the idea of a tax, and when they need more, they just raise it. It's easier to do that. That's how you know. Look across the board, compare it to other states. Are they getting it done? Now, every state has their, own unique circumstances, but there are some comparisons you can draw, and we're just not getting it done. Why would you start a company here? If you have a company, you can put it anywhere in the United States. Where are you putting it? Where do your people? Well, that's part of it. You want to attract good people, right? So where do you want to put it? You want to put it in some place, I would think, that has a moderate climate. That's something that a lot of people are concerned about. So in order to get it in an area that's, a little more turmoil, snow, wind, rain, whatever, they got to bring something else. Do we have the highest percentage of people with college degrees? No, we don't. We're actually a little bit behind as a state. Is it a relatively young workforce? No, there's a lot of them that leave the state. I mean, we have refused to lay out an argument why you should be here. And that's the reason, one of the reasons, coupled with tax and everything else, that people are jumping off of Ohio and the Midwest in general. You got Tim and Goshen. Thanks for holding, buddy. How are you?
Good, Doc. You there?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, my wife substitute teaches for both private schools and for public schools. And she says the difference is unbelievable. She said that every public school has a TA, and most of the time when she goes in, they're just set up to do a free period. Now, when she goes into a private school, like a Catholic school, they have a lesson plan laid out. Those teachers care. They're not part of the union. You know why we've got so many Catholic festivals around here? It's because they need the funding. Do you know why they got bingo? Because they need the funding. They have got it figured out. All you have to do is open up the books of a Catholic school and take a look at their books versus a public school. They have a scarcity mentality that public schools do not know, nor will the union allow them to have.
I understand what you're saying. I don't want to blast teachers too much because there's a whole bunch of them that are in those situations that want to teach, and that's the reason you hear them say, listen, I can't provide these supplies for my kids. You know, I don't have time to do what I'm supposed to do. And they're probably right. They're on the front lines of it. It's not their fault. It's the mismanagement from the school board and the administration, or not having, as I started off the program at noon today, saying any new ideas to solve problems and also do it efficiently, you know, monetarily speaking or fiscally speaking. Jim and Amelia, how are you, sir?
Hey, how you doing, Doc? Good to hear from you. I live in Amelia, of course, and West Claremont is going for another levy this year.
Yes, sir.
They got done building 2 new elementary schools. And here's the deal. They have this thing called a community journal. They have a big article in here about the new levy. And I just want to say a couple sentences here. They're saying that they don't think they can cut $5 million from the budget. They don't think. So they haven't even attempted to it, right? And then it goes on to say that, well, if they need to cut $5 million from the budget, why are you asking for $10.9 million? And her answer was that we need extra money for inflation raises and emergencies. Is that unbelievable?
Wait. See, here's the thing, Jim. First of all, raises and that, sorry, you know, that's one of the things you couldn't. Inflation, you can't control that. I get it. But even emergencies, guess what? The emergency is now. That's the point here. You're putting more. No, it's smart to put money away for emergencies and plan for the future. But because you didn't do that before, now you're in the emergency. No, here it is. Regardless of party affiliation, organization, what you do for a living, if we want the best product at the best price, we need something new. We have failed. And we're going to fail even more. It's going to get worse. New ideas, and that requires leadership. And from you and I to go ahead and say, I'm willing to put my job, money, whatever it is, on the line to accomplish it. To not be selfish. That's what has to happen. All right, an update on Bert and Ernie coming up next. Top of the hour, 2:06. We're going to run down Rick Perry and the debate last Thursday night. It's the big one, 700 WLW.